Pixu, and I am bringing you yet another Battleborn character review. Excuse me, a little slip of the tongue there. And we are going to be looking at Toby. We're going to be looking at the Rogue Faction's adorable little mascot. We're going to be going over his skill setup, his lore and background, his Helix Loadout, and tips and tricks that I have found to try and use Toby as effectively as possible on the battlefield. So let's get right into the skill set. His first skill is called Arc Mine. He'll launch an Arc Mine forward from his left arm, and it will, after a brief delay, it will expand and deal damage for roughly 8 seconds, and afterwards the Arc Mine will explode for an additional burst damage at the very end. His next skill is called Force Field. Toby will deploy an energy field in front of his mech, and when he fires the railgun through the force field, the railgun's energy blast will increase in velocity. His ultimate is called Core Discharge. Toby's mech will transform into a railgun that will deal a fair amount of damage that lasts about 6 seconds. Now his basic R2 ability, he just fires the railgun from his arm. I apologize earlier, I mean to correct myself. Toby's mech transforms into a powerful. His ultimate, he fires a laser. His right arm, his R2, that's the railgun. So that was I misspoke on that. But his R2, he'll fire a railgun, and when you charge up the blast to maximum, it'll deal more damage when you fire and hit someone. He doesn't have an L2 ability really, but he does have the ability to double jump similar to how Caldarius double jumps. He can glide along the floor a little bit, he can propel himself forward in small bursts, and he starts off with 3 charges, and the charges take about 8 seconds to come back after each use. I prefer to use them as a defensive ability, but they are there and they grant Toby a little additional mobility. Now that we're done with the skill setup, let's get into his lore and backstory. Alright, so the first thing you should know about Toby is that he is a refugee from Menneck-B, the same planet that Ernest and Benedict are from. He is also from that planet, but he is a civilian, whereas Ernest and Benedict were in the military on Menneck-B when the Varelsi attacked. Toby was a civilian and he was evacuated as a refugee. However, when he was saved by the UPR, he applied to the UPR saying, I want to join you guys and avenge the loss of my planet and the star by the Varelsi. I want to fight back. I want to join the good fight. However, due to his size, he really wasn't able to. He didn't really come off as intimidating, and the UPR turned him down. Eventually, Reyna caught wind of him and decided that this guy actually he has a lot of attitude and some anger issues. So Reyna sought him out personally and recruited him into the Rogues. And now he is pretty much the mascot of the Rogue faction, but also a mech piloting death machine as well. So Toby really has a very simple background of he wanted to fight with the UPR turned him down, so he's now a rogue. Other than that, the rest of his lore really talks about his mech Berg and the details about its construction, like a fabricator, a mine launcher, a railgun discharger, stuff like that. And I'm not really a tech head or anything like that, so that's really all I'm going to leave it to when it comes to his lore's backstory. It's really simple and straightforward. He's a refugee from Menneck-B, wants to fight the Varelsi, got turned down by the UPR, and instead became a rogue. And that's really all there is to Toby's character in and of itself, storyline-wise. So now we're going to move on to his Helix Loadout. Alright, so right off the bat, level 1, I'd like to go with me and my magnets. Railgun projectiles deal bonus damage when passing through a force field. So now when our railgun bolts pass through the force field, they gain an increase in velocity and damage. So I don't like remote detonations, so I prefer me and my magnets for level 1. Now level 2, I like to go with best offense. Allies standing behind Toby's force field are granted bonus health regen and attack speed. 14 health regen per second and 15% attack speed. This also applies to Toby himself. So it's very useful. I like it a lot. I've turtled behind my force fields quite a lot to regen a fair amount of health before enemies can get up to me. So it's very nice and very useful. Next up, level 3, I like to go with Still Alive Sorry. Toby's maximum shield strength is increased by 240, almost doubling it, similar to what Isaac has, and for the same reason. We just want to make it so that Toby's harder to kill. We want him to have more health and more shield so that he's not so easily defeated. Next up, level 4. Either one of these is fine. It's sorry I broke your legs or sorry I broke your wrists. If you have trouble hitting your opponents directly with the arc mine, you can go with Sorry I Broke Your Legs. 3 seconds of slow is still very good, and it makes it harder for them to escape your arc mine and escape you. Now, if you're able to land your arc mine shots perfectly, go with Sorry I Broke Your Wrists, because, you know, the 2 second stun duration is worth it. Next up, level 5. Either one of these I'm not too thrilled about, to be honest, but I go with Boosted Boosters, just because giving me 1 extra charge allows me to retreat more often or put more distance between myself and my opponents should they try and close the distance. Next up, level 6. Overcompensating or Plasma Mine is what I go through here. So, Plasma Mine, Arc Mine's dealing increased damage to enemy shields. This means that when your Arc Mine deploys and attacks enemies, it'll whittle down their shields faster. Overcompensating just makes it so that his railgun blasts are bigger. They're not more powerful, they're just bigger, meaning it's easier for you to land your hits. So either one is perfectly fine, depending upon your own personal preference. I wasn't a big fan of Beam Splitter. I don't like that. Next up, level 7. Either one of these I never really liked either. The only one I would use would be Self-Destruct Sequence, just on the fact that if my opponents kill me, if it's a melee enemy, I'm going to deal a good chunk of damage as well and try and take them with me, and that's literally going to be it. You know, Self-Destruct Sequence is the only level 7 perk that I actually would willfully run. You know, the other ones I just don't like all that much at all. Next up, level 8, I like to go with Room for Mistakes. Increase each force field's total health by 100, doubling the health of force field. That's what it essentially does. Force field itself is rather weak, so it needs the health increase so that it can stay alive longer, so we can keep using it, dealing damage, healing, gaining increase to attack speed, and so on and so forth. Next up, level 9. Mines is pretty good if you're able to land all of your stun mine shots. You know, the 20% cooldown reduction time. Now, the other one you can go for is What's Mine is Yours. Increasing the range that arc mines can deal damage, a 30% area of effect radius. So if you're running the mines that slow your opponents, What's Mine is Yours can make it so that you can hit your opponents even easier. You don't have to land an exact precise shot if you're going for the slow augmentation. So the increase in rate and damage area of effect radius for the arc mine is actually very good at complementing the 3 second slowing augmentation that you can use earlier. And finally, level 10, I like to go with Endangered Species. Enemies damaged by core discharge blasts are slowed. I don't really feel that they're slowed all that much, but it is nice to slow them down a little bit so that they are easier to stay focused on. Triple Discharge, I tried that. I tried that for 1 game. I hated it. It might be good. I honestly don't know. I just don't like it. So I go with Endangered Species. And that's going to do it for my Helix Loadout for Toby. Now we're going to head back to the gameplay, and I'm going to tell you how I feel about Toby and what I do with him when I play as him. Okay, so I'm just going to come out and say it. I don't like playing as Toby. I don't like him. I don't like playing as him. I never really got a good feel for him. I never liked playing as him. I usually do very bad with him. My win-loss ratio, my KD ratio, like all my stuff, like everything I do try and do with Toby, it just ends in usual abject failure. I found it very, very difficult for me to get used to him. It feels like every time I try and do something with Toby, there's a different character I probably could have done it better with, whether it's long-range suppression, like what I'm doing right here. I could probably do it better with Marquis. You know, I feel like no matter what action you're setting out to do, there's another character that could probably do it a little bit better than Toby. Now, does that mean Toby is complete trash? Well, I've seen people do fairly good with Toby, but I don't see people pick Toby too often unless they're on a 5-man team. But a lone wolf player like myself, no. I've played Toby lone wolf. It is a miserable experience. So I suggest that anyone who's looking to play with Toby, find people to play online with so that they can cover your ass and protect you when needed, and do what I do. I think one of the best things that Toby can do is long-range suppression and area control, like controlling a lane like you see right here. I'm hitting them hard from above. I use my arc mines to control lanes when I can, and I pretty much just try and I only chase after kills when I have the advantage. Like, for instance, I don't know what that Wrath was doing, but whatever, I'll take the kill. And then, like right here, I'm gonna try and kick this Oscar Mike off my ledge, because this is my ledge, motherfucker, get off. But I'm not a huge fan of using Toby. I don't like using him. I'm not that good with him. I'm just not. I've literally died to situations where I was just like, fuck, if I was playing someone else, I wouldn't have died there. Like, if I was playing Montana or Kelvin or Boulder, you know, if I was playing someone else, I would not have died. And I find myself very frustrated with Toby. Now, when it comes to the gear, I'm sorry about the rant, but I had to rant. I had to get that off my chest. I just don't like playing as Toby, and I'm not that good with him. When it comes to gear, I use gear that makes it so that he has health regen, damage reduction. Skill cooldown is pretty useful. One of the gear pieces I like to use is the gear that you get for completing his entire lore. It gives you 2 arc mines. So every time you use an arc mine, you'll have another one immediately available. That allows you to stun an enemy and then stun them again. So I've had people pull off wicked combos, like Kelvin will subliminate, stun me. Then Toby will line up arc mine 1, stun me with arc mine 1. Then line up arc mine 2, stun me with 2. Then Kelvin used his ice wall, stunned me again. I got stunned 4 times in like 15 seconds thanks to a Kelvin and a Toby tag team when I was playing as Montana. It was brutal. I got completely obliterated by those guys. So working and teamwork is one of the best things that you can do with Toby. I don't recommend him to lone wolf players. I recommend you play with friends. And if you are a lone wolf, then just try to avoid picking Toby. You're probably going to have a better time with other characters, as I usually do with Toby. You know, I don't like playing as him. And that's going to do it for my review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Sorry for the negative rant at the very end. But that's going to do it. I'll see you guys all later in my next video.